So I was inspired this morning. I got up first thing this morning and I saw one of the members of the channel. And I know he's got his own channel. I'm going to send a shout out to Quincy James Music. All right. And I'm maybe paraphrasing what he said, but he's like, be yourself, be real, be true. It was something along those lines. And he said, I don't know why so many people can't figure that out now. And that's a powerful message. And I know he has told me that he goes to a very popular college in the Nashville area that does have a music school. I don't want to blast people, right? Because that's not really the purpose of this. But he said that most of the students there are all trying to copy either Tim Henson or Eddie Van Halen or John Mayer. And look, those are all great players. Those are all guys that have a great approach. And, what can you say about that? Right? But, what you could say, and what is a very important message about this, if you look at, say, Edward Van Halen, and I'll talk about him as an example, because that's one that I know most about. I've seen John Mayer live. I know what he does. When I heard his playing style, I knew from whence it came. Tim Henson, I've listened to a little bit, but when you think about Edward Van Halen and the trajectory that he took and the influences that he had, right? People would be surprised if you told them this guy, and if you played them at Edward Van Halen, and they said this guy was inspired by Eric Clapton. Many people would be surprised by that statement. You look at what Van Halen grew up listening to Dave Clark 5 and stuff like that, and coming up in the 60s, right? And then getting into the Who live at Leeds, and getting into Cream, which is hence where the Eric Clapton influence is. And I know Edward has largely said that he wasn't a huge Jimi Hendrix fan, but when I grew up and first heard Jimi Hendrix, right, and heard all the dive bombs and whammy bar type stuff that he was doing, and then when Eddie Van Halen came out, I was like, this is like Eddie, but like next, hearing Eddie, is like, this is Jimi Hendrix, but like on a next level, right? And you can, if you're a true musical historian, you can listen to old bootlegs of the development of Eddie Van Halen's playing. There's recordings of him when he was, pretty young. And as he progressed, the things that he added to his playing. And it almost seems like it all fell into place right around the time of recording their first album, as far as everything that he brought. The tapping that he may have gotten from Harvey Mandel, who had, done tapping before, and he had gone to a concert. Apparently, I think it was, what was the guitar player? Terry Kilgore, I think, that had talked about this in the past. And I know Eddie claims that he got the idea from watching Jimmy Page do the Heartbreaker solo and the pull-offs in that. But whether he got it from Jimmy Page or he got it from Harvey Mandel, whether he got the whammy bar stuff from listening to Jimi Hendrix, even if only casually listening to him, you're already looking at multiple influences, and not to even discount the influence of his father and the swing music that his brother and his father would play. And, the teaching, the learning that he got from, some of his professors and teachers and things like that over the years. And his style becomes an amalgamation of many different players. So when you tell an artist, be yourself, okay, that's finding your own path. That's not copying one guy. That's copying many different influences. Maybe even it's not just copying, players in one style of music, but maybe pulling from outside influences. Maybe it's listening to sax players. Maybe it's listening to piano players. Maybe it's pulling different types of music and putting them together. Putting funk and rock together, putting blues and maybe punk together, any number of things. And I think as much as you practice playing somebody else's stuff or playing scales or playing arpeggios or whatever you're doing now as a kid, learning, and even if you're an old guy, learning, trying to develop your own thing. That's a powerful, powerful concept. Pulling from different things, combining, the Reese's cup of music. You've got your chocolate in my peanut butter and it tastes amazing. Talked about that with Joe Wooten, and, making something good by combining two things that you didn't think would work well together. And that's something to think about. If you want to create your own sound, if you want to be yourself, take the things that you like, and let's hope that it's not just one thing, right? One thing, anything of just one thing. You're going to get bored of that. You're not going to grow if you're only doing one thing. Now, if you were to be the Edward Van Halen copy guy, but then you decided, hey, I'm going to learn how to play jazz, there would be two pretty different schools of thought that you would be learning, and that could help you create your own style. And, the same thing would be, if you're a country player and you decide to learn some Eddie Van Halen stuff. And look, man, the thing about Nashville is this. Nashville is very much a vintage guitar town. And what do I mean by that? Okay. If you're going to go play sessions in Nashville, you're going to need to be able to do the vintage guitar thing. And that doesn't necessarily mean that you have to have a 59 burst and a, Blackguard Telly and a vintage Strat, but it sure does help. It sure does help. And the same would go for your amps. Your pedal selection, your pedal board should all be curated to your tonal aplomb, and your presentation of what you bring in. It needs to be appropriate. If you showed up to play with a bunch of Nashville stalwarts and on a session, and your rig was a diesel and a diesel Herbert and a 5150 and I don't know, a Fortin or some modern amp. And he brought a bunch of Ibanez's and Jackson and 7-string and I don't know, maybe one of those Tosin Abasi or Ernie Ball models or something like that. You're going to get some sideways glances, right? You know, here's the thing, man. We all are trying to fit in life. We're all trying to, if you're a Nashville guitarist, man, probably your ultimate goal would be to get called for sessions. And look, man, I was one of those guys that when I first moved to Nashville and I came from LA and I had my LA attitude and my LA clothes and my LA guitars. I still had a Jackson soloist when I came to town. And I had no idea what kind of rig you would need to be a studio player in Nashville, nor could I afford it. And it took me a long time to figure out, what I need to play and what I need to do. And I never really cared about that. I never really pursued doing that full time because I really didn't want to play, that music. Wasn't that pumped about playing on, country records. I got to do it, luckily, because I played for an artist that used his band in the studio. But you know what? We would have Nashville stalwarts come in and play pedal steel. We would have Nashville stalwarts come in and play piano. We would have Nashville stalwarts playing fiddle and all the, those other positions, that we didn't fill live, right? And, because being out on the road, I was playing with the artist. The artist that I played with was not a traditional country artist, and he loved when I would go out on stage with a pointy Dean Flying V or some like over the top like guitar, right? And so when I did those sessions, I remember playing on one tune. I did play a Dean Flying V, and I think it was what was the band that sang Denim and Leather, British heavy metal band? I had a Dean Flying V that was from that band. I can't remember the name of the band now, but let me know in the comments. I played that on one track, and it was a good playing guitar, man. Here's the thing, man. A good guitar is a good guitar, right? But if you're going to fit in and try to, the thing about being yourself is it still has to adapt into something. You still have to be able to adapt. You could have your pointy guitars at home and your 7-strings and all that kind of stuff and your metal gear and all that. But, when you show up to play a gig, you do have to play the part. You do have to dress the role. And being versatile, being able to adapt, being able to know what the right part is and know what you're doing within the system is an important thing. So you can be yourself and bring in elements of yourself, but you also have to be able to adapt. And that is another powerful lesson. Become yourself. Get many different influences. Understand. Look, if somebody tells you, I want it to sound like the Rolling Stones, man, you better know exactly what they mean by that. If somebody comes in and says, I want it to sound like some old broken blues record, well, you better be able to know how to do that. If somebody, comes in and says, I want a rockabilly type sound, you better know how to approximate that, even if it's not your specialty, So studying one thing, one player, being able to do one thing, it might work in the Instagram world, but in the real world of being a musician and getting called to do different things, think about it. Think about it. If you're able to play funk, if you're able to play rock, if you're able to play country, if you're able to play disco and metal and all of these different things, if you're able to adapt, show up with the right rig, the right attitude, the right clothes, all of that, if you're able to be a chameleon of sorts, because you have many different influences, then you will get the call more often. You might end up playing with an artist that's a combination of all those things. I think we're very much a melting pot in this country. Certainly in music, combining different things. And look at what country music is now. It's combined of, hip hop and rap and country and rock. It's really a combination of all those things. And I remember when country music started rocking more, and that's the only reason I ended up even playing in any country groups is it became something different than just, playing, shall we say, traditional country, And so this is all very powerful information because, if you're a young guy coming up or you're an older guy trying to come up with your own thing and your own style and be creative and all that, take from many different sources. Don't just take the style of one person. Learn how to play multiple styles of music. Be versatile, be able to adapt, know how to dress the role, know how to have the tools for the jobs that you want to get called for. And that's a powerful thing. Think about having the right, tools so that when the phone rings or the text comes in these days, and look, yes, gigs, went from getting the call and talking on the phone to getting texts. Hey, can you do this? Hey, can you do that? So this is all powerful stuff, man. Being able to adapt, being able to learn from different guys. Don't just learn one style, man. That's going to paint you into a corner. And when that rug gets pulled on that style or people get sick of hearing it, you're done. So be versatile, be yourself, be real, be true. I think that's a powerful, powerful message.